So now you have left-wing college students all across America holding a national day of resistance. The anti-Israel rally showing a shocking display of indifference toward the victims in southern Israel. This after Hamas terrorists murdered women and children.
If anyone would like to cover their face, do indicate that, and we will give you an N95 mask.
On Saturday, October 7th, the Palestinian resistance in occupied Palestine launched a resistance operation by the name of an Aqsa Flood. Across land, air, and sea, the Palestinian resistance has broken free from their cage in Gaza.
Hamas are Palestinians, okay? All of us Hamas.
Resistance is justified when people are occupied.
Resistance is justified when people are occupied.
So there is one side of it. Now here's another. Journalist Barry Weiss calling out the cowardice at America's universities like you just saw.
You go and look at the Instagram or the Twitter of many of the most prestigious and celebrated so-called institutes of higher education in this country. You'll see posts about Sustainability Week. You will not see posts about the greatest slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust. Tells you something about how deep the ideological rot is.
So I think it was Britt Hume last night who said a lot of rocks are being turned over in America as we speak, and I think he's right about that. Dana, we were on the air this morning on Newsroom. We were talking about the complicated history of this part of the world and the fact that you have to spend a lot of time to learn it. And you said, and if you don't learn it, you're ignorant about it.
Right. I mean, it's purposeful because right now we've talked about this before. If you want to be educated on any topic in the world, there's no better time to be alive because a lot of things you can actually learn for free. You don't even have to go to university. Pick up any podcast. I'll give you a list of all the things I've been listening to this week. And it did take effort and time. I didn't know a lot about the Middle East and the complications of the region before 9/11. I had to learn that afterwards. And I watched documentaries. I read books. I listened to podcasts. I started reading, especially the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which helped me a lot. So there is that, but I also think that this is not a new situation, right? So it's not just like all of a sudden the freshman class of 2023 is this left-wing nut. Basically, this has been going on for quite a long time, maybe a few decades. And so then you have the institutions at the universities at the highest levels somehow conflicted for the most part. I wouldn't say all of them, but for the most part. The other thing about these young people that are all, rhyming and feeling good about themselves, if they were in Israel, if they were citizens of Israel, what they would be doing today is not putting on an N95 mask, they'd be putting on a uniform because they would have been called up to defend their country.
That's true. After 9/11, I spent a lot of time with the looming tower trying to understand Al-Qaeda. Harold, you work in the world of finance. What do you think about what's happening at Harvard when you have a reaction from a dozen CEOs who are backing Bill Ackman, who is huge in the financial world here in New York, not to hire anti-Israel students from Harvard University?
So the market is speaking. I believe everyone has a right to freedom of speech and everyone has a right to be wrong. I think what I just saw there at the University of North Carolina, students, or if they were people on the campus, I don't know if they were students or not, but it's amazing to me that someone would say, we are Hamas. The second stated purported goal of Hamas, their constitution, is to destroy Israel, is to kill Jewish people. So I don't understand how you could be for that and call yourself being part of some organizer resistance. But you asked me a basic question. I think what my alma mater is the University of Pennsylvania. One of our great graduates and friend of mine was on television this morning on another network calling for the senior leadership at Penn to resign. Because he felt that they had not denounced, let alone strongly enough, some of this language. Again, freedom of speech is a hallmark of our nation, but that does not prevent a university from denouncing what is occurring, what has occurred, and what is occurring on their campuses. We did it rightly so when we talked about issues affecting African Americans and Black Americans after George Floyd's killing. This should absolutely be the case on every campus in the country where these kinds of demonstrations are taking place. And any president or leader that does not do it, I think they're not only going to face the peril of their graduates not getting jobs, but they're probably going to face the peril of losing their own jobs.
Quickly, just to Greg and then Janine, what Harold's describing is a potential turning point. But it seems like in a lot of big stories that we have, we predict turning points. I'm not so sure that I'm convinced that this is one of them just yet.
Yeah, as long as the environment of academia, which is basically an assembly line for woke idiots, keeps going like this, it will never end. Who are they resisting anyway? I mean, they're embraced by their professors and their peers. I mean, academia is rife with that. You remember after 9/11, there were stories of groups of radical Muslims celebrating the attack on NYC rooftops, and there was no proof of that. It ended up being an urban legend. 20 years later, an urban legend is an urban reality, except it's not radical Muslims. It's our own radicalized American students in masks endorsing terror. I mean, this is like incredible. I mean, it speaks to this funhouse mirror of identity politics that twists and perverts all logic. It's a mind virus that turns average people into vile cretins.
Janine?
You know, I like to think it's a turning point, and hopefully I'm not being naive here, but what Bill Ackman is doing and what he is sending a message to the community, to the financial community. And I wonder where Jamie Dimon is. I wonder where a lot of these other leaders are, the capitalists in our society. But what they're doing is they're basically saying, look, we have an obligation to the shareholders, to the board of directors, to the stakeholders, whatever, to have people of character and common sense as employees. And if you're going to be focused on your microaggression, if you need a corner to cry in, and if you're a wuss, we don't want you in our company.
Pretty quick trigger.
You are not someone that we want. And hopefully this is the moment that these people will recognize that they can't start trashing people whose babies are taken out of their stomach and stabbed, and then the mother is shot. All right, I know it's horrible, but they need to hear this, and they want to say that they're the oppressors. You know what? Get a life.
Hamas wants to kill and destroy the state of Israel. This is not coddling someone who doesn't want to go to work. This is coddling someone who wants to extinguish a group of people.
They're saying is from the river to the sea, meaning the Jordan River to the Mediterranean.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.